All right, today we're going to go over how to set up Gamevroom and the Joy-Cons and also add World of Warcraft as a non-Steam game. So we're going to start off first with adding World of Warcraft as a non-Steam game. First thing you're going to want to do is make sure that your World of Warcraft launcher or Blizzard launcher is up to date with what version you're trying to play. So Classic is up to date here. You can see that I'm online and logged in, so we can exit out of that. Now I already have this added, but I'm going to show you the process. If I was to add this as a non-Steam game, I want to go to games. I want to go to add non-Steam game to my library. I'm going to browse and I'm going to be looking for this right here. So if I were to start, I would go F drive, wherever you have it installed, World of Warcraft. I'm looking for Classic Error, so I'm clicking on that, and then I'm looking for WoW Classic EXE, the application. I would add whatever version you're playing, you're gonna have to add it as a non-Steam game. So if you're playing retail, you would have to also add that. You would have basically different versions. So you might have up to 3 or 4 versions. Once that's added, you can click play from here. It's going to ask you for your information logging in. But before you do that, to get the Joy-Cons to work, what you're gonna do is you're gonna click the cog right here. You're going to go to properties, and I got this disabled right now just to show you. We're at controller, and we want to go to enable Steam input. Close that out. I'm turning my Joy-Cons on right now. Once your Joy-Cons are on, you'll see that there's a controller here. Now you can set these up however you want. This is my layout right here. So you can go in, edit, layout. You can change buttons around. For instance, I've changed Y and X and B and A to different here because on Nintendo, the jump button is B instead of A, which on Xbox it's A, so I'm familiar with A. So we change that around a little bit, you don't have to. And then you can go in and you can change any of these settings, but since we're doing everything as controller, I leave most of this alone. If you wanted to make this a keyboard action, you could do that. A mouse action, all that stuff. You can get into Steam input and do some crazy things, and it's really cool. So we're gonna go back. What I use the Joy-Cons for is basically as controllers. There's no up, down, left, right. But the gyro I use as mouse. So I have this function set to gyro to mouse beta. We'll go in here, and my activation button is the right joystick. So when I click in the right joystick on the Joy-Con, it activates gyro. That brings up my mouse, so I'm able to use my mouse function. And when I'm done with it, I right click again, and then it stops using the mouse function. That way the mouse isn't going all over the screen. You can change a bunch of settings in here. I don't change much. I think I changed the sensitivity. I moved that down. So if it feels like it's too fast, go right here for the sensitivity. Okay? And that's pretty much it for what I do for World of Warcraft with the Joy-Cons. I'm gonna now get into Gamevroom, and I'm gonna show you how to set up Gamevroom, and we'll talk about some of the common things that I run into that are problems. So my process of loading things up, I load up World of Warcraft first. After loading your cat VR, you can minimize that. And then we're going to go up to Gamevroom, and we're going to launch this. We're going to minimize that. And then what you'll see is you'll see like a yellow border around the screen, okay? One of the common problems you might run into if your controller is not working or you don't hear sound is just the simple fact that you need to click on the screen. Well met. Once you click on the screen, you'll hear sound, then you know you're probably good to go with controls and everything. Now we'll get into the controls right now. I'm going to show you that. The cat VR will not work until you are in game mode, so I'll go over that real quick. Okay, we're going to show a few things here now. So you may see this setup right here when you load in. And it may be, so if you're trying to face like a certain way, like I try to face my camera, you may want to recenter. If you can move your treadmill or move around to center where it's already at, that's fine, you can do that. The buttons are a little too far away, so, and they're also not what we want to use, so we're going to start a new layout. So I'll show you a fresh new layout. You can go to layout library and you can load pre-built layouts. What I use is the gamepad, so we're going to load that, okay? As you can see, the buttons are still far away. We're going to try to recenter here, so what I do is I click the menu button on the index, and I go to recenter. I don't know if that's showing up. and that brings things a little bit closer. And then I can also bring things closer by using the grip button. The grip button in Game VR Room will move your virtual buttons to where you want them. These ones right here we're not going to use. We're going to switch these to something different. So now we're going to go back to layout, and you can move that a little bit out of your way. To change these buttons right here, these virtual buttons, we're going to go back to editor. We're going to go to virtual buttons. These are the pre-built ones in right now. D-pad up, left, right, and down. We're going to delete start, and we're going to delete back. And then we can make this virtual button a button that we want to use by clicking on this. Now, if it's a gamepad that we want to use, we click on the gamepad down there. And then we're going to go to Y. That is now gamepad Y. And then we're going to click on X. This is now gamepad X. We're going to grab. We're going to move this in front of us. So this is what it would look like on a controller. X, Y. Our next button would be B. This one's a little bit bigger, but I'll show you how to adjust this. So we click on this virtual button and we're going to click B. Okay? So now, when we X out of this, we have 3 buttons here. And we can resize them by holding both grip buttons in and out. That's as far as it goes right there. Okay? Once we go to game mode, that's when everything starts working. You should see that if I press D-pad right, I should eat. And that's by taking my controller and putting it in that virtual button. And if I want to drink, I press down on the D-pad. Now, your controller should be able to move you with the thumbsticks. Your camera should be your right thumbstick, and your controller movement should be done with the left. You can change those settings if you want. If you're right or left-handed, you would have to swap everything. And then now, your VR treadmill should also be working. So when we walk, our character should walk. Now, a lot of times a common problem is if you're not getting movement, make sure that your settings in Cat VR are showing the correct movement. So you want it to be the left thumbstick. You don't want it to say anything like trackpad. If it says trackpad, then switch it. But I will go over those settings in another video. I kind of just want to go over Game VR Room and the setup right now. But hopefully, if you have that problem, that's the quick fix. Another problem is you might be walking at an angle. So on the Cat VR, there's a button that you can press in. And I found that I need to keep my head slightly to the left to get my character to walk into a straight path when I recenter. You'll hold that in and you'll feel the vibration in your controller. Okay, so let's go do a little bit of fighting. I'm using console port, so everything is based off of controls for basically an Xbox controller or whatnot. We're going to click on this character and we're going to cast our ability Wrath by putting our hand into that virtual button. Now you can activate it by just pushing it in there and letting it go. And then if I want to use my melee attack, I would go up and I would press X. Going for a heal, I'm going to do B. And then jumping can either be done by A on the controller, or if you have it set up on your Cat VR, it'll work also. After you get everything set up the way that you want it, you're going to want to go to Export, and you're going to go to Save New. You can change the name of it by clicking on here, and then pressing the buttons here. You can put World of Warcraft Classic, and then save it as new, and then it'll be there. If you don't see your layout when you get on, then you're going to want to go to your layouts. It may be in a certain area. One of my problems is I've saved it in the wrong area. My layout for World of Warcraft is actually in Raft. So you'll have to go through your games and see if you accidentally saved in a different game. But it doesn't need to be in the game Raft for it to work. It'll load up your layouts whether or not you're on the right game. So if you can't find your layout, check your other games to see if you saved it there on accident. When you're in this screen, it will not do anything. None of your buttons will work. You have to be in game mode. You can't be in edit mode. And that's pretty much it for Game VR Room. There's a bunch of settings you can do. You can actually use your controller like a mouse by gripping the controller and moving your mouse around. That will control your camera view. You would have to do that in a keyboard layout. I just stick with the controller layouts because we're using console port, the virtual reality controllers, and our Cat VR. So that's it for this video. Hopefully it explains a lot to people. It's not too hard to set up, in my opinion. And if you have any other problems, please get back to me and hopefully I can find a solution for you. But that's it for me. I'm out. Peace.